What up guys, SuperMetal993 here to bring you another CD review. And I've got a killer death metal release for you. It's not a local one, we're taking a little break from that just to bring you one of the finest sounding death metal albums of 2017. In fact, I think now that I think of my list, this is sat at number 6 and currently is my favourite death metal record of 2017. It's absolutely killer, so yeah, spoiler alert, you can read by the title what it is, but anyway, this is what I'm going to be reviewing for you today. Yeah, this is the new album from the band Septicflesh, entitled Codex Omega. This is released under Season of Mist. Now, if you aren't too familiar with Septicflesh, they're a 4-piece symphonic death metal band from, I believe, Greece. And this band has quite a lengthy discography. This is the band's 10th full-length album. But we're not obviously going to be dwelling into the older stuff because it's a completely different kettle of fish, you could say, like from the older generation of albums to the newest era with the Great Mass and Titan and all that. It's, what more can I say? It's a new era for Septicflesh. So yeah, we're moving on from that. But yeah, this is a new start for the band, you could say, with the introduction of Krimh, the new drummer, who we all know from YouTube, doing all of his drum playthroughs and drum stuff, and also his solo project and live footage from when he's done fill-in spots for the likes of Behemoth and Decapitated over the years. But this is his new project that he's joined, and when all of us heard that Krimh was going to be joining Septicflesh, especially me and my band Erebor, we knew instantly. We were like, yeah, Krimh's going to bring something special to the table. But enough about that, we're just going to take a little dwell into the past a little bit with their absolutely incredible album that they brought out a couple of years back called The Great Mass. Now, that was the first exposure I had to the band, and still to this day is one of the greatest death metal albums in my opinion. It's filled with just so much atmosphere, power, and just sheer grit going through that album. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't heard that album, you need to fucking hear it. It is an absolute masterpiece, especially the song, especially my favourite song of Septicflesh, Vampire of Nazareth. Oh, what a song. It's so fucking heavy. Just if you want the epitome of heavy, just hear that fucking song. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, and then following that we had another album from them called Titan, which came out a couple of years back, and to me anyway, and I've even talked to the lads in my band, and we kind of all agree that Titan, for all it was a really good Septicflesh album, it just wasn't like, it didn't have much on the Great Mass. Like, Great Mass was absolutely flawless in my opinion, but it just didn't feel like anything new. It just felt like a Great Mass Part 2 kind of thing. It wasn't anything new to go, wow, you know what I mean? But that's not to say it's not a great album. I've still got it in my collection and I still listen to it. It's absolutely fantastic, but that's just my opinion anyway. But when Krimh announced that he was joining the band, I knew there was going to be something special. And over the past couple of months, they've released a couple of singles. I believe they've released Dante's Inferno, Third Testament, and I can't remember which one the other song is, but nonetheless. But after hearing those two songs, I was like, yeah, this is definitely going to be something very fucking special, I can tell you that. But yeah, and then the release of the album came. I went out, picked it up upon release day. I actually was in HMV, and I just saw it out the corner of my eye, and I was like, I didn't realise it was out yet, so I just went ahead and picked it up, and literally within a few minutes of having this album on, I was just in awe, just listening to this, because this is, in my opinion, now become my favourite Septicflesh album, because this is intense. It's got everything that the Great Mass had. It has the atmosphere, it has the power, it has the riffs, the grit, the heaviness. It just has it all into one, into just some demonic, epic masterpiece, and it's absolutely fantastic. This is everything that I wanted the last album, Titan, to be, but it's amped that up to 1,000,000 in my opinion. I think one of the things what I really think comes at home with this album, in my opinion, is the drum work. I think the drum work just feels a lot more tighter. It feels a bit more creative. There's a lot of blank sorry if I can speak. Blank space is being filled in with some really creative drum work. I felt like the past couple of albums that drums have been very tight and very creative, but I think this has just been amplified up to another level, in my opinion. I think Krimh is one of the best drummers in death metal today. He hits his toms and snares with absolute power and creates some great atmosphere of cymbal work, and his footwork is tight as fuck, and that's exactly what you need with a Septicflesh album, especially if you hear the song Third Testament, which is my favourite song on this album. That intro is just so fucking tight. In fact, the whole song is just tight as fuck. The entire album, the footwork is absolutely incredible. It's punchy, it's got a great boom-esque to it, that it creates so much power and locks tight in with the guitars. Like, it's as if, like, I know that this maybe an insult to some people because they don't really dig Fear Factory, but there's a lot of Fear Factory like tightness to the musicianship with that right hand going with the guitars and the footwork. It's neon tight. It's absolutely incredible to hear, and what more can I say? Krimh's done an absolutely marvellous job on this album, creating the drum work that he has. He's pushed everything that he's done in previous bands, like on I believe he was on Carnival Is Forever. Like, that drum work was phenomenal, but this it's just another fucking level. Guitar and bass work once again from Septicflesh, absolutely amazing. The one thing that the Great Mass had, in my opinion, was the guitar was always amped over the symphonics a lot, and I'll get to the symphonics in a bit on this album. But I feel like this album, they're still above there in the mix, and it sounds really, like, not drawn out, like, say, Agony by Fleshgod Apocalypse. Like, it was quite drained out, and it was just, like, synths with drums, basically. But this sounds just really connected. Everything sounds like it should be in a mix. The symphonics are not overpowering, like, in your face, but they are still powerful and in your face. But the guitars are still audible, there's still clarity to them, and it still amps up the heaviness. Like, the combination of that heavy, gritty, dirty guitar tone, but it's still clean as hell, and just filled with crunch and grit. It just makes it sound huge. I mean, this is easily, without a shadow of doubt, the biggest sounding album I've heard this year. I've heard a lot of releases, and I've said a couple of releases sounded huge, but nothing comes close to Septicflesh's Codex Omega. It's absolutely incredible to hear that huge depth that the guitars can achieve, and just absolutely amazing, just powerful, crunchy guitar tones. I love it. And obviously the bass is obviously amping up that guitar, giving it that crunch and that beefy, massive, huge tone, just that big punch in the face, and punches you right in the fucking face, and that's what you fucking want, especially if you compare it to the Great Mass, which that did to me. This is just, it's like a full-on punch from a like boxer, and then getting full-on punched by a UFC fighter. It's like that in comparison. I know that's quite sad, but what can you do? That's just my opinion in general. The symphonic elements, as I said before, they're not overpowering. They're still there. They are potent in the mix. They are very loud and surrounding, and create the great atmospheres that Septicflesh has always been able to achieve over the past couple of albums, with this new style that they're going for compared to the older style. But it still creates great atmosphere. It creates a lot of majesticness in it. Like, it creates, like, great atmospheres. Like, I think it's the song, I believe it's Martyr. There's, like, a soft part in that song where it just soothes you and then rips your face off straight away. That's just Septicflesh doing what Septicflesh do, and in my opinion, it's utterly fantastic, and something that you all need to hear. If you haven't given this album a chance, fucking do so. And the musicianship just on this album, it just puts you in awe and just makes you go, that was an intense ride. It's an absolutely intense ride, easily. I would say though, like one thing I was actually thinking about it, and I was giving it a listen just before doing this review. The Symphonics kind of remind us of like a Dimmu Borgir-esque to it. That kind of like overpowering, but you can still hear the crunchy guitar tones. It's kind of like the same sort of vibes that you get from like it's like a perfect blend between Abrahadabra and sort of Diaboli, whatever you want to pronounce it as. I shit a pronunciation, as most people know. But it's like that perfect cohesiveness where the massive clarity, but then it still amps that power that Abrahadabra had. That's the kind of vibes that I get from the Symphonics. It just crushes so much. Now, one thing that I think everyone in death metal loves about Septicflesh is yes, it's the heaviness, the epicness and all that, but it's the fucking vocals. Fucking vocals, man. What can I say? The most demonic, lowest, most crushing lows I have ever heard since I heard Emerald Forest and the Blackbird by Swallow the Sun. Now, those vocals were low and crushing as fuck. And before that, it was a Monomath, and so it's basically gotten low to the point where it's like this, and it's just so commanding, so powerful, and just gut-wrenching. And you can actually feel, like, your voice becoming that style of vocal. It just feels like you're just being crushed from the inside, like being pulled from the inside and out. It's gut-wrenchingly heavy and just low, gargly gutturals. It just sounds so powerful and just overpowering vocals, and that's what I've always loved about Septicflesh, the overpowering, low, monstrous vocals. But one thing I actually think is a real character, in my opinion, in Septicflesh's sound is the cleans, the very unusual sound in my opinion. I have nothing in at the moment to think of what compares to those kind of like clean vocals. It just sounds so weird, and if you want to hear them, listen to the song Dark Art and Our Church Below the Sea. They just add so much. It's like monstrous, and then when you get to those tracks, you're just like, where the fuck has this just come from? Wow, it literally blows you off your fucking tits, you know what I mean? Like, it's, I know me northeast accent's proper coming out at the moment, but this is what I get when I get excited about such an album, and this album gets me very excited. Every time I'm about to put it on, every time I've finished it, every time I listen to it, it gets us excited, and just, it's just majestic, such a majestic, powerful experiences. So if you're into symphonic death metal and you haven't given this a chance, or if you're into death metal and you want something with a bit more powerful majesty to it, then this is definitely for you. Definitely the best death metal release of 2017 so far. And I think from what me band and me's discussed, it's quite a tie for album of the year, like as a band. But this is definitely up there along with the new Xanthocroid album, Part 1. The guys haven't listened to Part 2, but I've listened to it because I'm going to be doing a review of it very, very soon. But we'll see what happens when that time comes, because I want to get that review perfect for these guys. But anyway, moving on. Septicflesh's Codex Omega is an absolute masterpiece, and if you're into symphonic death metal and you haven't heard this album, you need to hear it. From the monstrous lows to the unexpected cleans in the later part of the album to the absolutely tremendous musicianship and the power that esques in this album, you need to fucking hear it. For an overall score, surprise, surprise, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. This album has nothing wrong with it. Nothing in the right mind of this is wrong. It's just absolutely incredible. Krimh's drumming is absolutely incredible, and in my opinion, whatever Septicflesh is going to come forth in the upcoming future with Krimh in the band now is just going to be absolutely incredible. So make sure you check out Codex Omega by Septicflesh. Serious 10 out of 10. So I'll see you until the next video. And remember, oh, by the way, if you're a fan, or if you haven't heard the band and you need like a reference, if you're into Fleshgod Apocalypse, Rotten Christ, or Dimmu Borgir, then you'll find something to like about these guys. It's absolutely fantastic. But anyway, I'll see you until the next video. And remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.